Hey there, guys. I'm Toby Rudolph, and you're about to listen to the ET Stand podcast. Shaka, brah.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite-level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand podcast. It's that podcast that is battered, bruised, and broken. But is it really that bad? This is the ET Stand podcast, the Cronulla Sharks fans podcast that lets us talking to the football. We're live on YouTube and Facebook and available on audio on delay in all the good places. Thank you for making us part of your day as the Sharks look to recover from a 1-2 start. If you're worried about the Sharks, you can join the Sharks Discord channel and share your thoughts 24/7 and during the game. The link is in the comments. As we go throughout tonight's show, please do get your thoughts and link into the comments. We want to hear from you guys. Is it really that bad? Are things going to be okay? What's going to happen? Who knows? Joining me on this journey, like always, is the co-captain of the ET Stand. He appears a little shorter than me, but I can assure you he is a very tall, striking, handsome man for those on audio that haven't seen him. Stephen Franklin. Franco, hello, mate.
G'day, champ. How are you, mate? I'm still, as you said, battered and bruised. It was a funny one. I think we all expected better against the Dolphins, but we come back, we rinse, repeat, go again. Let's see what happens.
Well, let's work that out. Is it really that bad? And we will get into that. So on tonight's show, we kind of got, 3-4 key points to the show. So point one is I've done a major comparison of this Sharks season start, the first 3 matches, 2 seasons past. Good seasons, bad seasons, indifferent seasons, grand final seasons, premiership winning seasons. Is 1-2 really that bad, and can we recover from it? And when we've been 1-2 in the past, how has that all shaken out? And we're doing this because we've got a new sponsor, Mortgage Choice, from the Mortgage Choice guys at Sutherland, Cronulla, and Wollongong. Pete Johnson, absolute legend, who helped my dad with his mortgage for the apartment we bought at Canberra. Absolute legend, helped us out. So as soon as he worked out who I was, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to sponsor the podcast. Why wouldn't I? You and Franco, how good?" So Pete's coming on board. So if you need a new mortgage, give Pete a call, and he can certainly help you out. Point number 2. Then Franco and I are going to talk about, we've had a couple of days to digest that outcome, and we're going to think about, well, are the Sharks actually, what are we looking about? How are we feeling about this team, and where might we end up? Part 3 of the show, we're going to look at the Raiders match, the team list. The Raiders are missing a couple of forwards. We're going to give you our reaction to the team list that Fitzy has named. How different is it? Should it have been different? All of that sort of stuff. And then segment 4, we'll just chat general NRL, and no doubt, like normal, Franco will be having a great time, and I'll be nervous that the podcast is going too long, and Franco will think of 17 different extra subjects that we'll definitely should talk about. So that being said, do say good day to us in the comments. Craig Gearan in the comments has said, at least we aren't playing one of our bogey teams. We know how to beat Canberra. I think we are 4-5 against Canberra, Craig Gearan, from our last few times that we have played them. So with the most recent win, of course, being that semi-final win. Prior to that, we lost to them in 2025 and beat them in 2024. We did the double, and the most recent match in 2023. So the record's pretty good, but before that, it was horrendous. So it was like 10 losses in a row or something like that. So we'll see how we go. We'll get to that. But for now, let's get into the comparison segment. All right. Now, as I mentioned, the comparison segments, we're going to do about one of these every single month. It's brought to you by our good friends at Mortgage Choice. Give Pete a buzz. All right. So, unfortunately for those on the audio, you're not going to get to see this presentation. So, maybe if you've ever not watched us on YouTube, maybe this one is one to switch over. And SJD, thank you for confirming that my mic is good. I've worked out the settings to what is called a Streamer X. So if anyone wants to know how to set that up, we can certainly do that. And then Politeness Man 3901. My concern is that the Sharks have spent a lot of time and money building a team, and the NRL has changed the interpretation of the rules, and our team isn't built for it. That is an excellent observation.
Wouldn't be the first time, polite businessman.
No. So the Sharks in 2002, Matty used to always talk about this, the diving at the legs team.
Mm-hmm.
So the diving at the legs team with the rules changed just before the finals. Absolute did Chris Anderson's team in. It was such a shame. So, but anywho, let's get onto it, shall we? All right. So, I'm going to have to put my glasses on. Yes, guys, I've bought glasses. I've caved. Because I'm old, Franco. All right, let's get into it. So previous Shark Star comparisons, the grand final years. So as you can see on screen, the 4 grand finals we made was in 2016, the Super League year, 1978 and 1973. So you'll be pleased to know, our dear friends, that in 2016, we started with a 1-2 record. We finished as the premiers. Our regular season finish was 3rd. So in round 1, we lost to the Cowboys, who were coming off a premiership the year before. We beat St. George Illawarra, absolutely spanked them. And Manly beat us 12-22. So not a great start for us, and so we managed to turn that around. But we had a red-hot team. In the Super League year, we just absolutely pumped it with 3 wins, lost the grand final, finishing 2nd. In 1978, with a similar number of teams, we lost the grand final replay. We actually had a 3-0 start. And in 1973, we had a 2-1 start with regular season finishing 2nd, losing the grand final. So what do I take away from this page, Franco? And I think it's certainly better to start 3-0 and 2-1, but it's not impossible. That is one of the themes that I'm seeing so far throughout. But we'll keep going. All right, on to the next slide. The NRL prelim years. So in the years where we've made the prelim, dating back to 1996. So in 2025, we started 2-1. And we ended up finishing the season 5th. In 2024, we were 2-1. So ended up finishing the season 4th. 2018, 1-2. 2008, 2-1. 2002, 3-0. Chris Anderson started out on fire. 2001, 2-1. 1999, Franco's 3-0. And 1996 was 1-1, having forfeited in the first week. So of the last 8 prelims, or last 9 prelims that we've made it to, including the grand final, we have made a start in the season of 1-2 twice. So 2 of 9 were 1-2. 7 of 9 were better than that. All right, what does that tell you? Well, let's just keep going through it. So some of these ones, when you look at it, the 1-2 season in 2018, look, they were close losses. The Cowboys just coming off their grand final, St. George Illawarra. So how much can you read into it? What's interesting is the 2024. Remember that West Tigers drubbing, Franco, in round 3?
Mm-hmm.
That anomaly, like, oh, that one hurt. And so as I've gone through these, when I've looked at the good years, there's very few, we got soundly spanked when we lost. You know, I guess there was the 2001 St. George Illawarra. That one was a bit tough, which was 30 points to 6. But we also had a few injuries at the start of the season. So that's what makes the loss to the Dolphins a little bit alarming. Get your comments in, guys. What do you think of how I'm progressing along here? As I just present this information, we'll get Franco's reaction and your reaction in the comments in a second. So that was the prelim years. My conclusion is it's better to start 2-1 and 3-0 than not, but not impossible. On to the dark times. Oh, God. Okay. So the dark times I considered where we didn't make the playoffs. So 2021, 2014, 2011, 2010, 2009, 2007, 2006. I have a fear this is where the negative Nancy's might come out and say, oh, goodness me, this looks very 2006 to 2009, some of those years. So, yeah, it's the darker times look weaker starts, don't they, Franco?
The less said about 2009 and 2014, the better. But yes, it's
yeah, you can see. So 2014, we got the wooden spoon. We started 0-3. 2009, 1-2. We finished 15th. So the 1-2 starts not great. Let's just say that. All right, on to the next. The most recent years. So looking back at it, we've over the past 8 years started 1-2 3 times out of 8. 2023 being the most recent one of those, where we lost week 1 of the finals. 2021, we were 1-2. We finished 9th. 2018, we won 1 of 3 finals. We lost in the prelim final to Melbourne down in Melbourne in the match where Billy Slater took out Sasai Feki. So the other years were, and obviously 2020 was oddly enough 0-3 in 2020 and lost week 1 of the finals. So again, there's still no glaring like where we've been okay or made the finals, absolute smashings other than that Tigers one, which is why the Dolphins become so concerning. And then the 1 and 2 start years going back. So this is how we've done the last few years when we've started 1 and 2. So most recently, we lost week 1 of the finals in 2023, finishing 6th. 2021, didn't make the finals. 2018, we lost the prelim final. 2017, we lost week 1 of the finals. 2016, we were the premiers. 2012, we lost week 1 of the finals. 2009, didn't make the finals. 2007, didn't make the finals. So my conclusion, guys, is after having gone and looked at these numbers, that the seasons where we start 1 and 2 roughly follow about how well the Sharks do, just a little bit of a dip. So it's reason to be concerned, Franco, but it is not end of world scenario. How are you feeling about it after having seen the numbers?
Geez, you've put a lot of work into that, mate, and there's a lot of spreadsheet-esque slides going across the screen.
Which one? Yeah, which one do you like? Is this the most relevant one, you think?
Look, I'm gonna come at it from a bit of a different angle for you. Let me try and say the most relevant in my mind is the Fitzy years. So Fitzy came in 2022, and from 2022, we by round 3, we were 3rd, and pretty much stayed in and around the top of the ladder for the rest of that year. We ended up finishing second. Great year, very successful. Nico wins the Dally M in a landslide. But it's, and not to put a knock on Fitzy, but there's an element of, probably continuing on from what has happened in the past with the Sharks, and just sort of bit of tinkering and bit of new blood there. Not to diminish the results in any way. From here, though, 2023, by round 3, we were sitting 12th. By round 6, we were sitting 11th. And then finally in round 7th, we got into the top 8 and worked our way up from there, which was still, we're going to say all of the Fitzy years have been good because we've made the finals in all of his years, right? So we're just going to say that. 2024, by round 3, we were 10th. Round 4, the very next round, got us into the top 8. Round in 2025, by round 3, we were 10th again. By round 6, we were 9th. And then round 7th got us into the 8. And away from there, we went. 2026, very similar to 2024 and 2025. Round 3, we're sitting in 10th again. So I think, to be determined if and when we climb into the top 8. But as far as I'm looking at this, a slow start under Fitzy is not abnormal. In fact, it's part of the norm. And I wonder, when you look at the Roosters,
I can tell you the answer on the Roosters.
Oh, very good. Okay. Historically, while he was there, they had a lot of slow starts, I believe. So I think.
So the answer on the Roosters also with Trent Robinson is that they're considered to have a consistently slow start.
Yeah.
So the Roosters fans get frustrated by the slow starts, and they've got it again. So that is not unusual. And look, I don't mind it, because if you think about it, you're trying to get
into
going.
A season.
You're trying to work your way into the season and not be too fit and win. Play your grand final and be May premiers. And that's not what Fitzy wants to do. So if we toe the line and back Fitzy, or not, then I think we can. It certainly earns enough rope with us, but it's still, I'd rather be 2-1 or 3-0, Franco.
Oh, especially with all of the chatter pre-season about how good everyone was feeling, and then I think, let's be honest, if we were 1 and 2, if we were 1 and 2, but the win came last week, or if it wasn't the Panthers round 2 and we won round 2 instead of round 1, I don't think the conversation would be as dire in Sharks fans' opinions, because I think it's just such a hard thud from that amazing round 1 win to then just get blasted the 2 following weeks. And I think that's sort of what's hurt a lot of fans the most. I think if we'd have, as we're accustomed to, lost week 1 and then sort of had a bit more of a showing, I think it would have been, yeah, no worries. This is what we're doing. This is what we've done in the past. I think it's just that coming down to earth from round 1 is what sort of created this shock to the system. I don't, like you said, I don't think it's anything worth to be concerned about. As you said, with all of your analysis there and comparisons, that a 1 and 2 is not bad.
Not impossible to overcome, but it doesn't. It's not impossible.
Yeah.
So I think there's a slight skew to not doing as well when we've got a 1 and 2, but we won the premiership when we're 1 and 2. So it's not panic stations yet, but there are some other alarming signs. Let's hit through some of these comments, my dear friend Franco, as I've been working on these spreadsheets. And SJD has correctly pointed out there was an error. It was 4th I had listed for 2020. It's actually 8th. So good work, SJD. It's good to see you're here. All right. We will come back to some of these comments, as that we will use these as lead-ins for section 2. So if you think I'm not reading your comment on purpose, I'm not reading your comment on purpose, because your comment's good. And we'll come back to it. So 2.0 in the comments.
You, and you know who you are.
Except for you.
Your
yeah,
comment's
right.
rubbish.
2.0 says, I'm still not happy out with the weekend, but I will take back what I said about Fitzy. The rest I stand by. 2.0 was just on an absolute tear on the debrief. So for those that don't know, we do a debrief after full time of every match here on the ET stand. 2.0 went on a tear. He was angry for basically the whole panel and anyone ever associated with this show. And I put it up on I think I put it on Instagram, and the comments are like, oh, goodness me, this guy's pretty fired up. So you got a lot of comments there, 2.0. So good to see. A couple of suggestions here. 2.0 also says, I'm not tricking anyone here, Clark Kent. G'day to you, Mike Knight, Bumblebee Puna. David Abreu in the comments. Brew, Raiders legend, came on an opposition fan preview with us last time. Easy win for you this week, Boldo. Don't know if I believe that, Mr. Abreu, but we'll see how we go. SJD predicts that the Dolphins are a top 4 team, as I previously ordained. So if we take the fact that the Dolphins are a top 4 team, then actually the loss against the Dolphins and the Panthers is not that bad. And as we've seen in the current NRL, that teams can blow out teams at the end. The Sharks were done. They let in a couple of stupid tries. One disciple, Michael, says we can only look at the last 2 to 3 years, as that's mostly the team we have now. Yes, that's true in terms of the team we have now, definitely. However, it's just I thought it was useful to look at that in terms of a trend. There's me in the comments spelling incorrectly that SJD was correct. And then Dev Era says to us, Shisha, the Sharkies fans actually in a crisis after week 3. Come on, harden up. I don't think we're in a crisis, mate. I just think we're thinking about it. We're on a podcast that talks about the Sharks, so of course we're going to talk about the Sharks. We're like, boy, they played well this week, didn't they, Franco?
Well, we're not going to talk about how badly the Dragons are doing, or will we?
I think we might. I think that's in I think that's going to get in there. And WRX says the truth is Fitzy won't get us to the grand final. Maybe. Or does he not have the team to get him as a coach to the grand final?
Well, it's a tough one because it's his team now, right? So if there's changes to be made, he's hopefully going to see what needs to be made. But as it stands, that's certainly a hot take.
All right. And then Politeness Man 3901 says, we really didn't look in the game from the 20-minute mark. That is a concern early in the season. All right. Well, let's start with that, the Sharks, right now, and I'll hit back through the other comments. We'll get to all the comments. So questions for the panel. We didn't look in the game from the 20-minute mark. That is a concern early in the season. What was more concerning at the 20-minute mark is that we actually needed Rudolph to come on, and Fanua Blake wasn't really performing as what we've tended to see, and we don't seem to have the balance right at the starts, wouldn't you think, Franco?
I think, look, and I don't know, the 20-minute mark is mentioned there. I think it was more, for my mind, the Dolphins scoring first points really seemed to take the wind out of us. I think you're right. We didn't look into it. We didn't look up for the fight, but it was still, let's be honest, it was a bludger of a match for most of that before we started getting steamrolled. But for a time there, we sort of looked going blow for blow. But then when they scored that first try, that really seemed to affect us mentally. And I think that is what's concerning for me. It was sort of more of an inevitability from that point on, which really was a shame. I think we just need to, someone said Sharks fans need to harden up. Well, the players maybe need to harden up as well. 4 points is nothing in today's game, and just turn around and let's go again, guys. You're right.
Can I build on your point there, Franco, in terms of the emotional fragility of the team? I think you're right that happened at 4-0. I also think that happened at the 8-point penalty goal when Brayley tripped. So I think the same thing. And look, you and I always talk about, do you take the 2? What do you do? All this sort of stuff. In terms of the way the Sharks reacted to that 2 points, it wasn't that disastrous, guys. Like, it was 2 scores with 20 plus minutes to go. We could have gone out. They just seemed to slump and really get bummed by that moment. And so what I fear for us is we've built up a bit of an emotional fragility, Franco.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of examples where we've been unable to defend errors or defend penalties, and that sort of snowballs into the match. When we're controlling the ruck, when we've got momentum, and this sounds like a little bit of course the sky is blue kind of scenario, but when we've got control of the game, we're world beaters. That's why we're kind of considered flat track bullies. But when things don't go according to plan, we seem to struggle to turn that around. I think it's one of those scenarios in 2016 is a very good example. Through many of those matches where we were behind, there was still that air of, doesn't matter how bad we're going, we're going to turn this around and win this match.
The Parramatta 18-0 down, for example.
Parramatta 18-0 down, for example, right? There were very few instances that year where we felt as though, we've lost this one. It was always right down to the wire, right down to the death, no matter what the score was. It was like, we can still do this, score 2 tries in the last 5 minutes, let's go. So this last few seasons, we haven't really shown that ability to turn the match around. And look, to be fair, that's a bit of a concern across the NRL, and that's why some people are really against the 6 agains, because momentum is so hard to shift.
Got an observation for you on that. So I'm exploring the idea of doing a wider NRL, just trying to. So I've literally watched every single game this weekend, the whole way through. Looked at them more closely than I perhaps ever have, and what I concluded was that the majority of the tries are scored after errors. Now that may not be a huge new insight, but when I say the majority of the tries, I mean like the majority of the tries, like an astounding number. And the moments where the teams did score tries was when they had a quality player that was able to produce something from a moment of tiredness in the other team, but they just had a touch of quality. So the example against us was that Herbie Farnworth made that break on the left and got away from Katoa and found Hammer. And so that was a try that was scored without a mistake. And so there were a few examples of those where that happened, but it was really the quality players in these top teams that were able to do that. And so looking back to your 2016 point, Franco, is that in 2016 we had Barber and Maloney and Val Holmes and Ennis and Luke Lewis and Graham and these guys who just thought they could win the matches. Whereas now we don't have the same quality in the team. For some reason, we don't have that same finesse. And so you saw a pretty good try from Sam Stonestreet. He made that. It was, Nico set him up a little bit. Really, that was Sam Stonestreet's try. We just don't have as many guys that have that touch of quality to get us back into the matches, is my conclusion.
Yeah, well, I guess there's obviously quality, but there's also belief, right? And you've got to believe in yourself and believe in your ability to make an impact. That's also a bit of the required juice to get over these missteps. So if you think about us as a team, and again, mentioned all the talk in the preseason, how good we're going. We're feeling really good. We're up for it. This is our year. We're going to go great. I don't know about the team, but certainly the fans, and I don't want to put words in fans' mouths, so let's go with me. Doesn't matter how good we think we are or how good the chatter is, I'm still looking at certain teams and going, oh, geez, we've got to be good this match, or I don't know if we can beat them, or oh, that's going to be a tough one. You won't see that, and this comes from years and years of success. You won't see that from, say, Panthers team or fans or the Storms. It's going to beat whoever we're playing, whoever's this week. Okay, cool. Let's go. Let's win. So there's that element, and that, like I said, that comes with success. Success breeds success. We just need to tap into that a little bit more and try and work our way into, because we do have fairly successful seasons, right? You don't get into preliminary finals by having a dud year. So we need to look at those wins that we have through the year and build on those, cement them, not be scarred by our losses. And I think that's something that has caused that mental fragility. It doesn't help that the press are quite happy to harp on it every time we lose to the Panthers or the Storm, but it's certainly something that we need to just move on. Let's look at the wins. Let's look at, again, what we did really well against the Titans, right? We had some good formations, we had good shapes, moved well together, the ball movement was good, options for our playmakers.
Why did that just disappear against the other teams?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously they're better teams than the Titans, so they're up in our face a lot quicker. Their defensive structures move differently to make sure that they close down some of those gaps. But yes, we played more frustrated against those teams being the Panthers and the Dolphins, right? We played more frustrated. We were a bit more skittish, and we were being bullied out of the match, right? Instead of owning the moments and driving an outcome. So, I'm sure we've got it in us. We just, for whatever reason, we don't feel, it doesn't seem as though we've got the time. And this is maybe what comes to your comment about quality, right? Maybe our guys need a bit more time, space to move and do what they do. There's less muscle memory, there's less repetitions in what they do. So it's only new skills that they've come up with this off season that we're able to, against the Titans, where we had space and opportunity, they were able to put into practice what they'd learned in the off season. But against the Panthers and the Dolphins, where they were out muscled a little bit and didn't have as much space, they fall back in old habits.
Maybe we need Freddie Michalak. All right, let's hit through these comments to just assess what some of you guys think are the problems. Politeness Man 3901 says, my concern is that Sharks spent a lot of time and money building a team, and the NRL has changed the interpretation of the rules, and our team isn't built for it. So we've got bigger bodies. We've got Tommy. We've got big AFB. We've got even a pretty big lock compared to some of the other ones. And then Rudolph and Talakai are certainly big players. And with the boop, 6 agains, I'm not sure that plays to our advantage. However, you got to have the big guys in the big matches, and maybe they've just got to build a bit of fitness into the season. Franco, your response to the rules? Are the rules hurting us?
No, look, the rules have been like this since 2020, right? So we've had a lot of time to adjust to these rules. We've had a lot of time to have staff turnover to fit in with these rules. When you look at our big bodies, while sort of say Tommy is kind of in a technically newish sort of role, has been injured a fair bit, but you look at our big bodies, they've been big and mobile, right? So AFB traditionally, before he came to the Sharks, was a 70-minute player, very fit guy, getting on in age, I guess, but he's certainly one touted that he's got the motor to go around. Ueli has always been considered mobile as well, and then you've got, I guess we've moved Talakai into the center, not into the centers, but into the center of the field. Yep. And he's got speed about him. He may not have a good lateral defense, but as far as getting up, moving back, and moving forward, he was pretty good there. We've fattened him up, we've slowed him down. So any knock on him being able to keep up with the speed of the game, that's on us, that's on the coaching staff. Toby's certainly historically been he's great, but historically he's been a smaller forward. He's been one of the smaller guys in our pack. You look at him today, he's big, he's bulked up. So we've bulked up our engine room. We've tried to get some size and some strength on there. So that's a tactic that we've gone with. We just need to work out.
We've seen teams fail that before, Franco. So the Warriors, the early 2000s Warriors that were so good in 2002, 2003, then suddenly the rules started changing and their big guys, they just got knackered and they just couldn't keep going and couldn't match it. So I guess rugby league does go in cycles, so that might be a problem. Let's keep an eye on that one, guys. SJD backs that up and says we need more mobility. Tommy better not start. Goes back to my point about starters and impact players. I just think Tommy's a terrific impact player, so I would certainly do that. WRX, that's why the Panthers have adapted well to the new rule changes. The Panthers are also just the best team.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much of them is adapting versus, other teams poaching all their players, and they've just got the nursery to bring through new players that fit in their system, right? They've still got, some big boppers themselves. It's just the way they play, though. They certainly swarm around the field quite a lot.
SJD says we just need to adapt, and Fitzy can make adaptations faster, learning from his past mistakes. Cough Moylan. So is the mistake that he should have dropped Moylan earlier, SJD, or he shouldn't have dropped Moylan at all? If you can clarify that in the comments for us. I have a feeling you're going to say that he should have dropped Moylan earlier.
Probably shouldn't have re-signed Moylan, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't know what the background info there was. A 1-year deal would have been fine. The 2-year deal was,
was a little bit long. Jose XCI asks us, what's your thoughts on current AFB? Was it just humid on Saturday? What's doing? I think he might also be a little bit distracted from the Origin talk. I don't think is certainly helpful having one eye on that. I think it doesn't matter how badly he plays. I think he's going to get picked in the State of Origin just from a curiosity perspective. Then also, he just leaves just a little bit off the pace, a little bit, I don't know, not as pumped up for some reason. Franco, what's the problem with AFB, you think?
I can't put my finger on that one, and I'm going to apologize to the listeners for sitting on the fence a little bit here, but I wasn't happy with AFB last year, right? He sort of floats in and out of games, and he's absolutely destructive and game-changing when he wants to be, but there's just moments where he's making up the numbers, and that seems really harsh to say because he's such a great player, but Dally M forward of the year, however many years in a row, but he's just keeping that intensity up, and whether again he's just looking at maintaining a level that means he needs to drop off and catch a breath instead of going 100 miles an hour and then sitting on the pine. He wants to stay on the field for longer. I'm not sure, but it's just there were times last year, and people may have forgotten because of his status in the game, but I don't think I was the only one. I think there were a few people sort of questioning.
He didn't blow him away in the finals, did he?
Didn't blow him away in the finals. There were times through the season that he was gone missing.
I'll ask you another question on it, Franco. So remember, if you go back thinking our lifetime of watching Sharks forwards, top Sharks forwards are Fafita, Gallen, Stevens, and I'd say Adam Ritson. Now, all of those guys came on in moments and just absolutely monstered teams as a forward. And there were the matches you can point to and go, remember that match where this guy just killed him? I don't feel we get as much of that from AFB as we did those other high profile ones. We might have gotten it once or twice last season.
He's good for a try over the crash tackle play. He's good for that. But a big body that close to the line, running as fast as he can. I mean, great. You know, that's not something to scream the heavens down about. I think, you know, he's great in terms of post-contact meters, but in that same vein, I think that depends on what the team needs out of you, right? If you're pumping the legs and getting an extra 5 meters with a couple of bodies hanging off you for a really slow play the ball, and their defensive line is set, ready to come up against you, is that what you need, or did you need to go down quickly, quick play the ball? Like, I don't think he has a quick play the ball that often in him, right? He certainly gets the meters, certainly gets those post-contact meters, but maybe there's some times where we're on a quick roll. Let's just hit the deck, get up, play the
Live at
ball.
the feet, play fast,
Live
Cam
at the-
McInnes.
Yep, play fast. Yep, exactly. So I think there's certain scenarios where we need him to be a little bit different, which is always hard to say because we brought him in for a purpose, and coaches must be happy that he's doing that. At least we can only assume they are, because he's a great player. Don't take what we're saying to say the opposite. But I just think, yeah, he has sort of had a quiet season, and not to throw cat amongst the pigeons, but in his last couple of contracts, he sort of steadily went downhill as well, right? Before then moving on to a new club. I don't think he's survived the full contract for his last couple. So we'll see what happens
That's
here.
a worry. Now, it's a bit tough on us too, isn't it, Franco? We're on a Cronulla Sharks podcast, and the Sharks haven't been great to start the season. So we can only talk about what we see in front of us and just react to it and have a discussion. So it's just us chatting it through and trying to work out the answer, and with all of you guys here at the same time. But I genuinely have a lot of affection for our entire team, and I want to win a premiership with our entire Sharks team. Let me just reiterate that. I want to win with Nico and Kennedy and AFB and those guys. If they're our players right now, I'll be screaming and supporting them. But you can always get a little bit better. All right, let's keep going through these. Jose in the comments says, maybe facing the Panthers took more of the forwards than you realize. You guys are right in that game. Most of it was a battle. We certainly were. I'll cover this one off, Franco. Matty Johns on the Cooper Cronk show talked about a season where Newcastle got to play a whole bunch of teams after the Knights. Not after the Knights, after the Warriors. And he said that was a really cool thing for them that season because all the teams were bashed up. And I think you'll find that, well, let's see how the Roosters go this week after having, played the Panthers, and maybe they got blown out. It wasn't as close for them. But we were certainly in a match that was more physical, and they are the top team. And the Sharks did match it with them, are a little bit unlucky and had some bad moments. So maybe you're right, Hosea, XCI. We'll see what that means for the Sharks and if it is panic stations yet. WX says the 6th again rule is destroying the game. Franco?
No, we kind of touched on that last week. I don't think it's destroying the game. It's certainly moving it in a different direction that the purists might not appreciate. I thought the 40-meter rule was a nice, happy medium. I do miss, destroying, where do you point? Like proper scrums, right? I enjoyed proper scrums where you could get the ball out and do a move, and that's scrums have been nothing for a very long time, and now they're trying to do everything they can to limit how often they appear in a game. So you could point to anything if you've been watching the game long enough and say it's been destroying the game. I don't think the 6 again rule is destroying the game. I think if you want to go back a little bit, they were talking about how the little guy was taken out of the game because there were so many stoppages and the game was slower. So you just put bigger bodies in there and you generally win. Yep. Centers were makeshift second rowers, wingers, Dalaka, wingers were giants.
Manu Badabay.
Yeah. And you just got bigger and bigger guys. 5'8" were Greg Bird. You just had big people all across the park. And the little guy, the little Alfie Langers and whatnot, everyone was lamenting that they had no place in the game. Now with the 6 again rule and the speed of the game, you are starting to see some of these smaller players come back in, like your Jai Greys and whatnot, sort of getting to make a bit of an impact and having their time to shine. And all the people that had it easy for the last decade or so, the big boppers, are all like, oh, this is too fast. I can't keep up with the game. You're changing the game, so I've got no spot in the game anymore. Well, I don't think that's quite right. We always had a spot for a little player. There just weren't as many of them. We're always going to need a spot for a big bopper. There just won't be as many of them if you can't keep up with the fitness.
I think that's fair. All right, let's keep going through these. Matthew Abernathy says we should move Billy Burns to lock. He could be a ball-playing lock again, akin to Isaiah Yeo. If not, we don't lose much by trying. Jesse has the size, but isn't an out-and-out starter or anything like that, at least not yet. Well, certainly the trend is to play smaller forwards in the middle, and I think we've had success with Jesse Colquhoun, and I think the thinking on re-signing Billy Burns, Franco, is that might be in the future. Certainly with Nicara, I think we might have seen that. We saw Billy Burns in the middle of the field once they brought Teague on, didn't we, Franco?
Yeah, so obviously the big announcement through the week between our last Tuesday and this Tuesday episode was the re-signing of Billy Burns. So congratulations, Burns. Sticks around for another couple of years. Great to see. Building a bit of a cult following there. Very skillful, tries hard, runs hard. Nice little kick on him and good game awareness as well. So, you know what? I don't mind the idea of putting him in at lock. I certainly like him being on the field instead of on the bench. But Hohepa seems to be another good option at lock as well, right? But what do those two have in common? As you said there in the comment, they're both small. They've got good ball skills and can move the play around the field. So I'm happy with either of them. I think Colquhoun, and I mentioned this once before, I think he's sort of more of your middle forward lock. He does have a bit of a passing game, which is nice, but it just doesn't seem to come as natural as it does to those other two that we've mentioned. So Colquhoun might be a work in progress. We do know that he is one of those 1% players where he dives on balls and chases and makes up for errors, all that sort of stuff, which is why he's certainly favoured among the coaches and probably, hasn't really had a full season without injury yet. So he's finding time to get to his feet, and this will be a season for him to sort of prove what he's got, whether it's at lock or whether it's, in the front row. Well, time to tell.
There is certainly a lot for us to talk about tonight, Franco, as we keep going through all these comments. Thank you for everyone joining us on the ET stand. We're available live on YouTube and also on Facebook, but also available on delay. If you're driving your car, well, lucky you, because you've probably got petrol and a lot of money. But if you're driving your car and you want to listen to us whilst you're driving, you can find us on Spotify and various other good places. We're also on Instagram. You can see our match day carry on Instagram and other fun stuff there as well. All right, as we go through more of these comments, Cronulla Shark 2008 says Dolphins are a quality side with minimal injuries. They are definitely finals bound, potentially top 4. Well, if they beat us, then hopefully that's right. 2.0 says the difference between us and the top 2 teams, they are usually on from minute 1 to 80, regardless if they play and they play their game. Our game relies on outworking teams with a little bit of luck. We got one way to win matches. That's outwork them. And I worry sometimes we can't outskill them. My Top AU says, I agree at the moment, our team, when things go our way, we look like world beaters, but we cannot come back when things aren't. And the last 2 games, the points we leaked, where's the consistent defense? Yeah, they just got gassed. Dev Era, is it that Fitzy doesn't want to take many risks and play percentages when down on the scoreboard and you'll get them back at the end? Or is it the players are scared when down to take big risks? I've seen that before with the Fitzy teams where when they go down by a lot and they've got 10 minutes left, they're prepared to throw it around a little bit more and actually throw caution to the wind and can often be better. I often think to myself, it'd be better if the Sharks went down now with 15 minutes to go rather than going down with 3 minutes to go, because we're probably going to go down. So I think there is something in that. It comes back to the creativity. I've got a couple other things in my points before I look at more of these comments. I actually think we're missing Ronaldo Mulatalo more than we might admit. And when I've looked at the team previously, a win record without him is not great. And I think he's a bit of oomph and a bit of culture for the team that we're missing. Perhaps we're also missing that for the same reason with Cam McInnes, and maybe when it's just Cam missing, we don't notice that. However, with the two of them, that might be a little bit trickier. And Franco, you can reel back and think, oh, maybe not. But maybe 2 years ago, Cam might have been better. But
I think, Ronaldo
certainly, come on.
We discussed Cam after the Dolphins match, and I agree with you. I think from a leadership perspective and a culture perspective, he's definitely missing. But from Ronaldo, it's not just, again, that culture and that, we spoke about belief. I'm pretty sure Ronaldo is one of those guys that believes he can win the contest and
He
get
does.
the better of his man in front of him every
Yep.
game, right? No matter
There you
who it is. So that's infectious and certainly missing that. But also, if you were the opposition coach and you're looking at the tip sheet and you're getting your team to mark up and do our homework on and keep an eye on, who in the Sharks are you saying, we've got a man up on this go, we've got to watch out for this? Ronaldo, right? And without Ronaldo there gives a bit more freedom to the opposition defense, because I think they don't need to worry about his carries as much. They don't need to worry about his freakish leap. They don't need to worry about some of the weird things he does in the attacking 20-meter zone. It's just one of those things where they need to be a bit more aware of what he's doing, which gives the man inside him a bit more space or a bit more time. So yeah, I reckon definitely missing him.
Let's go through it. How do you beat the Sharks? Well, beware of Nickera's angled run on the inside, which the teams have all worked out. 1. 2, Braden Trindle's going to have a really good kicking game, so you've got to get pressure at him because his pinpoint kicks can make it really difficult for you.
Watch for his double pump, dummy and run.
Yep, watch for that as well. Brayley might run a little bit, but only when his forwards get on top. And they don't have to worry about Talakai anymore because he only plays for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. So we just don't have as many things to be worried about, actually, is kind of the problem, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Well, let's come up with something to worry about. All right, well, let's go through the team list, shall we? Sorry if we didn't get through some of your comments there on the Shark stuff. We'll get through all the comments at the end, but we'll just
drop a super chat and we'll get to it.
Yeah, if you drop us a super chat, we'll answer anything you want. We'll also sing any song you like to. I'll sing the Transformers song for you if you want to drop in a super chat. And I can't play the Transformers song on the piano, so sorry, guys. All right, let's go through the team list as the Sharkies have named their team to take on the Canberra Raiders. This match preview is brought to you by Miranda Hotel. They've got a Sunday special with kids eating free between 5 and 7. I think they might have advertised that without working the Sharks are playing, so we'll see how that goes for them. They're showing the UFC Adesanya versus, I think it's Piver, from 11 a.m. Into the NRL matches with the Sharks and then that Titans match afterwards. They've also got some cool Blink-182 nostalgia going on at the moment, actually, at Miranda Hotel too. So go to mirandahotel.com.au to check out, to book a table if you want to do that, or check out what else they've got going on. Trivia's on Thursday. We love the guys from Miranda Hotel. All right, the Sharks team to take on the Raiders. It is a rinse and repeat for the back line. Kennedy, Katoa, Ramey and Iro, Stone Street, Trindle and Hines. The front row of Fanua, Blake, Brayley and Hazelton is unchanged. Britton Nickera apparently has a broken nose and has been omitted from this week's team. I think he does have a broken nose. So Teague Wilton gets the number 11 jersey. Billy Burns is the other second row with Jesse Colquhoun. And then the bench of Siosifa Talakai, Toby Rudolph, Oregon Kafusi, Braden Ueli, Hohepa Puru in jersey 18, Tuku Hau Tapua in 19. And then the extended players on the bench from memory without looking at them was Jaden Beryl, Marween Hiroti, and someone else that I can't remember, probably Chris Vaela. I think was the team. Franco, your reaction to that team put out by Fitzgibbon, did he have any options to go change it?
Yeah, look, I think that's what we sort of said previously. People were asking for changes and whatnot. I don't think we really have anyone putting their hand up to step in, and I don't, we spoke about, there was a comment there about, AFB not having a great game, and we sort of echoed that. Yeah, we don't think he had a great game, but he's AFB. You're not dropping him, right? He can turn it on, and he can absolutely.
Can you imagine if they dropped AFB?
Right, so he's not being dropped. So what it comes down to is, as you've called out what you want, do you want Tommy to start, or do you want Kafusi to start? Do you want Rudolph to start? Do you want some iteration of that? And I think that's.
But he can change that without changing
exactly.
The numbers.
It could be discussed behind closed doors, and then come out on the day, and they're all running out in different spots. But so long as they're all named, that's all that matters. So just copy and paste, stick it up there and work it out over the next few days of who plays where and who might provide the most impact off the bench or who might hold the fort in the first 15, 20 minutes. So look, I think this was expected. I didn't notice when the broken nose occurred. So it was surprising to see Nikora omitted. But that said, we've got a ready-made replacement in Teague Wilton. Steps right up and away they go.
Yeah, I just don't think he's not going to create the noise around the team of dropping Hazelton to the bench and bringing Kafusi in. If he was going to do that, he would just swap it on game day.
Yeah, but I think that's
the move.
I think that's probably the move. But I don't think dropping Hazelton is something that creates waves either, right? It's not like, as we just said, dropping AFB. Dropping Hazelton, half the league following fans probably don't know who Hazelton is, right? It's just he's still finding his feet. I know he's been around for so long now that it's hard to forget that, but he hasn't really got a full season under his belt yet, thanks to injuries and whatnot. So, if he was to swap him around on the team sheet, I don't think anyone would really blink, and outside of Sharks fans. But yeah, look, just name that. Don't even waste your energy on trying to think about it now. Just name the team, copy and paste, and work with them over the next few days. And yeah, exactly.
So you brought up a good point on the episode, a week or two ago, and you don't ever want to miss Franco's takes. They're very good. Was how long do the losses have to go for before you're pulling a Matthew Abernethy move? So Matthew Abernethy in the comments says, we're likely not re-signing Jesse and Will. Will's replacement is clearly going to be Ison, and the obvious person to replace Jesse is Gabriel. But that leaves out Sam Stonestreet. So just cover that first bit. So if we are dumping Jesse, Ramian, and Will Kennedy, how many losses does it take before you abandon them? We touched on that last week. Don't know the answer, but you can think about that for yourself. Is it 5 losses, 10 losses? How bad does the season have to be a complete write-off? Who knows? Now, the other problem that we've got with those signings is that we've got Sam Stonestreet, Ronnie, and Katoa. 3 into 2 doesn't really work. What are our options with moving Ronnie to right centre? Ronnie played right centre for Newtown before, so he might be better equipped to go do that. I think Ronnie can probably play anywhere and be a pretty good player. He's that good. So the other thing you've got to worry about is you've got injuries and you want a squad. So having options with who can go. The Kaeliro is also an excellent winger, but Kaeliro is also quite a good player. So it wouldn't surprise me either if he could do that. Now, the Sharks, as I said, the history, we've won 4 of the last 5 against the Canberra Raiders with that 32-12 win in the semi-final, week 2 last year being the most significant. We've got a good run against them recently, but 4 of the last 5 wins, but 10 before that or something or other was seeing us getting beaten. The Raiders are missing 2 key forwards with Papa and, Big Papa being suspended after that head-high tackle, which was fair. And then Matty Nicholson, who I don't know too much about. So the Raiders team, coached by that guy whose name I don't like to say, so I won't. He's Ko Weeks at fullback. Good, he's a good player, Ko Weeks. Xavier Savage, Sebastian Chris, they're good. So yeah, Tamale and Savage on the wing, Sasagi and Chris in the centres. I'll put my glasses on so I don't stuff this up. Ethan Strange and Ethan Sanders. It's incredible that they're both names. Ethan's Morgan Smithies and Joe Tapiner, who's the captain. Tom Starling at hooker. Jaden Brayley's on the bench as a replacement for him. Hudson Young, he's good. Hudson Young as well. Noah Martin and Corey Horsburgh. And then, as I mentioned, the aforementioned Jaden Brayley, Zach Hosking, Atta Mariota, Joe Rudy, Dane Laurie, and Jed Stewart. The coach is, that failure of a coach at the Sharks. Look, I watched the Raiders-Bulldogs match pretty closely last week. The Bulldogs' defense was really good and held them out for periods of the match. The Raiders were storming back. The Bulldogs, despite some, iffy moments with penalties and whatnot, still just held them out. I'm not quaking in my boots at the Raiders. Certainly, if it was at Shark Park, I'd be feeling good about it. Franco?
Yeah, look, I mean, I would have said that you actually stole the words right out of my mouth, right? I've got no fear for the Raiders. But then having said that, I had no fear for the Dolphins either. So that gives me a moment of pause. I think it was, 2 years ago where Horsburgh ran over the top of us and really sort of changed the dimension of that game. where I fully expected to win. So I can't really go into this 100% confident, but I can certainly say that we should come away with the win. And I don't think I'd be on my own if I sort of went down that path. Now, they're a good team. They were minor premiers last year. You can say whatever you want about draw or luck or whatever, but you don't get minor premiers by being nobodies. And so they haven't changed the team too much since then. Obviously, yeah, they've lost their halfback,
Jamal Fogarty.
Thank you, Fogarty, who went to Manly. So that's, key
I
spot.
reckon they moved off him at the right time, Franco. I reckon Ricky Stewart's going to know halfbacks better than most.
Yep. I think Ethan Sanders has sort of shown that he's not too bad as well. So it's, maybe not a like-for-like replacement, but give him a few more rounds and he might come good and that'll be fine. So I think it's one of those things where we definitely have to be careful. They've got a couple of danger men that we need to really be on our game for. Talking about tip sheets earlier on, you mentioned Keir Weeks. He's just lightning and can find a gap. Ethan
Most
Strange
of their 1 to 5 are better than our guys.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think also you mentioned Hudson Young there and Tom Starling. They're all very creative. So something we've got to be aware of. And I think it's one of those things where it'll sting if we lose, but we shouldn't.
Certainly on the board, isn't it? Get your tips into the comments, guys. Shark. Shark RA77 with the super chat says, "Sing Superstition with your glasses on." I'll do that for you in a second. Why am I singing Superstition by Stevie Wonder? Is it Stevie Wonder?
It's a great song. It is Stevie Wonder.
Should I do it at the end of the show or should I do it now, Franco?
I mean,
very superstitious. Writings on the wall. Very superstitious. Ladders about to fall. Now, as we see our viewers just go down. 13-month-old baby. Broke the looking glass. All right, yeah, that's enough. All right, Shark RA, I will answer any other question you want as well, buddy, if you would like to ask us anything. I really do need to learn. I meant to sing it with the piano. What the hell? Yeah.
The audio listeners, there's a piano in the background.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'll sing. I'll do up Cronulla one day, guys. I'll do up Cronulla one day for you. Like, I'm pretty good at a party, aren't I, Franco?
I mean, he's got the same 4 chords, so
yeah, same 4 chords. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get your tips into the comments, guys, and then we'll hit through all these comments before we'll talk general NRL, just random stuff. Tallis rules. Kyle and Daniel Atkinson are going to get a run. So, Frankie, you're tipping a Sharks win?
Yeah, mate. Sharks win. I don't think it's. I mean, look, this is a pessimist coming out of me here. I don't think it's going to be a dominant win. I think, but it should be a solid win. So I think 12 to 14 points ahead.
Ned Smith in the comments says, "I'm not giving any tips anymore after Dolphins of the game at home," and I just want to find this one up here because. Here we go. SJD in the comments says, "I blame Harley for not being here for our losses." And then Harley comes through just in time with the tip of the Sharks. Harley, we missed you last week. You may be being held responsible for why we lost by not being here and watching and keeping us company and keeping our spirits up. You absolute legend, Harley. I love having you watching the show and winning our tipping comp. So we did the first season of the ET stand. For those that don't know, we did a tipping comp. We had to tip the result of the Sharks matches, and we put Harley in it because Harley always tips the Sharks, and Harley won. So, of course, it's so good. We haven't done it since because we were humiliated by the simple tactic of Harley just always picking the Sharks. I just can't decide, guys, whether I think the Sharks are going to win. I just have grave fears for us. However, with the Raiders with their 2 forwards out, I think that might just be enough to get the Sharks over the line. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. One disciple, Michael, says the Raiders 14-12, but he hopes that he's wrong. So, yeah. And then Jose says, well, Waz Up TV doesn't even sing songs on their podcast. I'll hit them up and tell them to get a set list ready for next week. So, Jose, a good story that I have is when we went down to Canberra in 2016, and Matty tells the story quite well, is me taunting the Canberra fans on the bus and saying, you guys don't even know your own song. And so then I started singing the Canberra Raiders song on the Canberra bus and changing the song, one of my favorite things to do. All right, let's go through. Let's just hit through the rest of these comments. We'll go top to bottom, Franco.
Okay. You were the lead cheer song person for the CWSC too, might be worth mentioning.
I was that. All right. Cronulla Shark 2008 says they'll be harder this time than last year's semi-final. No Ethan Strange last time, and they were coming off the back of an extremely tough loss. That is a really good point. They're also going to be super motivated against us, aren't they, Cronulla Shark 2008?
They're the same win-loss record as us too, which should be worth mentioning, 1 and 2.
Yep.
So
tough season for whoever loses. Big crunch game.
Mm-hmm.
SJD says the Raiders stink. Should be Sharks 13 plus. All right, cool. Williams 2.0 says Tapane and Young are their heart and soul. Stop them, we can beat them, but who knows anymore? Come on, AFB, just stop them. Just get them. Harodi to fullback says Williams 2.0. I'm here for it. And then Mike Knight, one disciple Michael says Williams 2.0. Interesting. I don't know. Harodi to fullback, Franco. I love you. I just want to say I got a man crush on Moeen Harodi after getting his name wrong and him teasing me. Can I, look, they're all lovely, the Sharks players, but Moeen Harodi is especially lovely.
He's very nice.
He's very nice.
And I think, look, he has excelled at New South Wales Cup in many positions, wing, centre, fullback, in the halves. So he can certainly do a job there. And you know what? I reckon if we were in a scenario where Will Kennedy failed a HIA or did something to his ankle or whatever, and we've got Harodi on the extended bench, he's probably coming on to go at fullback instead of shuffling around the squad. And I think he'd do a good job. I think, look, I don't know if you know, the fact that he hasn't played there much for quite some time is a detriment. You've got to be pretty fit to play fullback, and you've got to cover a lot of miles. But we've certainly seen the skill that he's got when he's playing wing and centre. So we know he's good under the high ball. We know he's good awareness. But no, I think as far as week to week is concerned, it's Kennedy, right?
It is,
and
Kennedy.
Also, not to mention, unfortunately, as much as we all have been converted to the Church of Harodi, he has now signed to go to the Titans. So it seems a little bit backwards to be developing a player who in that position is building leaving combinations who's leaving, right? So
which is why, Franco, Haroti is going to be on the bench, the extended bench, for every match, because they don't need to develop him in the Jets. So he's going to be forever that person.
Yeah.
WRX says Ramian selected after his divisible performance last week. I think we talked about Ramian enough, haven't we, Franco?
Yeah, look, I've got one for our fans of Kennedy. Tracy's off contract at the Bulldogs. You mentioned the Bulldogs' defense against the Raiders. Try-saving tackle there in the dying minutes. Off contract. Do we bring him home? Is that what you guys want to see? Would you rather Tracy come back? Kind of a muchness, I think, in terms of like for like. But if you just want to get rid of Kennedy, that's an option. Obviously, we don't know how Ison or Ford are going in terms of development, but they're certainly one to think about. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that'll be cheering at that idea, but I think Tracy's very good. His heart's in it. Everything is at 100 miles an hour, and the Bulldogs want to shift around their team with what they're doing. But as for Ramian, we've spoken a lot about Ramian. I think it's going to be very hard and very brave to drop him, because your man 2.0 that you just mentioned there, Harodi, would be the one to replace him. And I don't think Gabriel's quite right yet.
Shark RA77, I have got a treat for you at the end of the show. It's good. It's good. I promise you, it's good. It's really good with the glasses on, I promise. All right, let's just go through these. Any other comments? Yeah, I think that's probably... I think we've probably done enough of the comments now, Franco. We'll get to those other ones. Let's chat.
Our Bulldogs fan says, leave
Oh,
Tracy
here we
alone.
go.
So,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. We love Chris Glazer. It's clear that the Sharks aren't consistent anyway. The best and worst Sharks performance are too drastically different, sadly, for you guys at the moment. The Raiders' speed at the back five concerns me for the Sharks, but the Sharks do play well every second week, so this should be your week. Maybe it is one of those weeks where it's just Sharks good one week and then Sharks not so good the other week. All right, let's just chat some other footy. The Broncos and the Tallis feud just continues. And this is the ET Stand podcast, and we do talk about things through the Cronulla Sharks lens. So what would happen if, picture this, Nico Hines has a broken rib and is appearing on NRL on Fox for whatever reason, because some Storm player is doing something, or he's appearing 2 days later. And Paul Gallen comes out and says that it's bad optics on Channel 9 and says, oh, it's no good. What are you doing? Oh, that's a bad look. How does that play out for the Sharks? Do we think it's bad from Gallen? Do we think it's bad from Nico? And when you put that lens on it, Franco, and you treat it as the Shark, are you grumpy with Gallen for talking out of school? Or are you thinking, oh, Gallen's just on the TV and just saying anything? How do you react if you put a Sharks lens on a Broncos problem?
I'm not quite sure that matches up, because the Tallis thing has been simmering for quite a while. He's been having a few digs at,
He has.
at
So
coach.
it doesn't happen with us, does it?
Yeah, it's a little bit, his mate Kevy Walters got sacked, and he's sort of had a chip on his shoulder ever since then, and he's had the whole Fox Sports team pretty much backing him up and going to war, so to speak. So it's not the same. This has been a long festering thing, and that was maybe the straw that broke the camel's back. In your scenario, though, I think it's a fine call out, and you'd hope that the Sharks as a club would return serve in kind and just say, well, look, he was injured, he wasn't playing, so doctor said he's fine to fly or whatever to get to the studio, so it's a non-story. But Gallen has said a couple of things.
But I don't think Gallen does that.
He's got a mouth, Gallen.
Where his bread's buttered, mate. He's not going to do it. Like, one of our guys doesn't do that. He's also
a one club player, whereas Tallis has played for a few clubs and currently is quite entrenched in the Titans system. So, yeah, it's not a like for like. It's a bit different, but I do think that it was an interesting tactic to have Brigshaw's name be the one that's put on the door, because it does make it a little bit difficult to say that you can't put her name on. You've replaced him for some nobody or whatever.
It's not like it's Shane Perry.
Yeah, exactly. But also, grow up. It's a conference room door, right? It's you change names on conference rooms doors all the time. Sometimes you have raffles in offices about what do we want to call the conference room this year?
Or we call it airports. Sometimes they call it bridges. Sometimes they call it players. I had one office. We named it after all of the American burger joints. So, and then our data analyst actually ran a report. So, Boldo always books the Shake Shack room. It's his favorite meeting room. I don't know why. He never books the other one. I can't remember what the other one was called, but I always used to book the Shake Shack room. All right. Other footy stuff. I guess this is also somewhat Sharks related. Do you take joy, Franco, in the pains of Kyle Flanagan and Daniel Atkinson?
No, I don't. I don't take joy in anyone doing poorly, at least upon reflection. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, it's like, yes, that's great, awesome, drop the ball or whatever, But I kind of like Atkinson did well for us. There's no reason to be upset at Atkinson. He went for opportunity. He wasn't going to get a starting gig at the Sharks. Proved that he, in the limited opportunities he did get as a starter, to do quite well. Probably not sure I would have wanted to sign him as my team's halfback, but he's gone for that opportunity, and why would we revel in his demise or his lack of success? I think that's a bit silly. That's not right. Flanagan is a bit of a different scenario. He was not loyal to the club when I guess you could say the club wasn't loyal to his dad, or his dad was forced out. Went to the Roosters, tried to get Bronson Xerri to leave early and go to the Roosters, and had the drugs bust not happened, the peptides thing or whatever. Xerri probably would have been at the Roosters, and so we would have lost another young junior anyway. And then since going around to the Bulldogs and now the Dragons, he's said a few things disparagingly about the Sharks. That said, by reports, he's a nice kid. I think his career would have developed a lot better had he stayed at the Sharks outside of that pressure cooker of the Roosters, demanding success. I mean, pretty tough act to follow Cooper Cronk and two premiership winning seasons, right? So he was on a hiding to nothing there, I feel. And if he'd have just continued his development at the Sharks, Sharks being Sharks would have kept him on at halfback for 5 years before we worked out that he was no good or he came good, right? So, I think it's more of a collective package about the Dragons not doing well than those individual players. It's also the coach, right? Shane Flanagan. I'm not enjoying the fact that he keeps bringing up 2016 as a reason of why he knows what he's doing, because I think upon reflection, Flanagan,
despite because of him, not because of him, or despite him, not because of him.
Yeah, I think Flanagan's always been a really good people manager, right? And he's throughout, coaching junior grades and whatnot, he's always had certain talent there that's been able to get him across the line, and he's been able to finesse it and get the best out of them. And we saw that we were, an all right team, but it just clicked when we had Maloney and Barber and Ennis. He resisted change of putting Val and Bird in, and that was as plain as day that should have happened. So the fact that he was able to do that, but I've said it before, and I don't think I'm the only one, but Mooney was the one that sort of really helped put that squad together. And when Mooney left to go to the Newcastle Knights, we saw a bunch of those knee-jerk reactions of bringing in Dugan and Johnson and Moylan, and it was all sort of, they weren't smart. They were just, I need a name, I need someone to fill a spot. And
what he's
now
done again
with
Gutherson,
which is what he's done again at the Dragons. And I think we'll find that, again, he's a good man manager, and if he had the cattle at the Dragons, they'd probably be doing well. He'll get them to perform above average, but it just doesn't have the skill or the talent there in the team.
All right, Franco, I've got a treat for you as we wrap up the show. This is good. You ready, Shark RA? All right, this is Super Shark Shon by Boldo that I just came up with. So it's very superstitious. Shire's on the rise. Nico's throwing cutouts right before your eyes. Tig is running hard lines. AFB bends the steel. Kennedy out the back again. Try time, that's the deal. When you believe in Sharkies, wins are on the way. If you doubt the black, white, and blue, you'll regret it. Game day. There you go. How's that, Shark RA? Have I earned you $7 for your super chat after that Sharks edition of Superstition?
It's pretty good. He comes back. There he is.
How did I go? There he is. Well, has he commented?
He has.
Let AI sing it next time, Boldo. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Very super. The next verse was very superstitious. Points are on the board. Brayley scoots from dummy half. Crowd begins to roar. Ronaldo in the corner. Stone Street in the clear. It's quite good. The coming up with that. Whilst I let you do one of those answers, Franco.
Mm-hmm.
Stewie Campbell says, need to put this as a short on YouTube, Franco. The good news is that I control the YouTube shorts, but the bad news is that Franco does know how to do it, Stewie Campbell. So he might. All right, anything else we want to talk about, Franco, after that disastrous end of the show?
Mate, I can't. I'm floored. There's actually and I may think about it for our fans, depending on the reaction of your singing. Back in high school, a good friend of ours got up on stage for, I don't know, some concert that the school was doing, and he was like, "Yep, I'm up," and he sung a song and had changed the lyrics to Sharkies, and it was very good. And now whenever that song comes on, I can't help but sing the Sharks lyrics. Did you not just hear what I said? You've left me speechless with your singing. I can't recall the song. I can't recall the tune. And I was all ready to maybe give it a bit of a sing, but my voice maybe not. But I was at least going to tell you what it was. But now with your singing there, I've just gone. It's vanished. So we'll see.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we did the episode with Damien Irvine where we talked through the favourite Sharks chants of all time. And I did a list. And Damien says to me, I was like, "Oh, I know what's going to be on your list, Boldo." And then he hated the pom-pom chant for Ben Pomeroy. And so as soon as he's like, I knew it. He's still angry about that chant. He's like, "It's a terrible chant. It's bloody terrible. There's nothing to it." So it's quite funny. Shout out to you, Damien Irvine. I hope you're doing well up there in Nottingham and enjoying the Sharkies as we know that you are. All right, Franco, it was a good show. I enjoyed that with you, man. Good deep dive for the two of us. We'll be back next week on Tuesday night at 8:30, hopefully with some more of the cast. Thank you to our sponsors, Mortgage Choice, the guys at Sutherland, Cronulla, and Wollongong Mortgage Choice, Miranda Hotel, and of course, Solve Accounting as usual. That was the ET stand. I will see you right after full time on Sunday. Franco and I sadly won't be making the trip down to Canberra. We'll save our petrol and just see you guys live straight after full time. Beyond that, chin up, guys. It's not the end of the world for the Sharkies. We've had 1 and 2 starts before. It's not ideal, but it's not impossible to break. There's light at the end of the tunnel. I believe in Fitzy. I believe in Nico, and I certainly believe in AFB and Blake Brayley. We got this. Let's get this done in Canberra. That was the ET stand. Give us a like and subscribe. Join the Discord channel, and just be legends. See you next time, guys. Thanks, Franco.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.